All right, welcome to our explainer. Today, we're diving into what can be a real headache for homeowners, the fence variance. You know, when you want to build a fence in Wilmington or New Hanover County, but the rule book says you can't, you might need what's called a special exception. We're going to break it all down so you can figure out how to build the fence you actually want. Let's get right into it.
So you've got this perfect picture in your head. The fence is going to give you the privacy you need, keep the dogs safe. It's just going to look great. But then you check the local rules and bam, your dream hits a regulatory brick wall. It's super frustrating, and honestly, it happens all the time. But don't worry, there is a way forward. You know, when you're building a fence, there are really two roads you can take. The standard path. That's the easy street. You get a permit, no problem, because your plan follows all the rules. But if it doesn't, you have to take the special path. And that means getting something called a variance. That's what we're digging into today. Okay, so first things first, let's figure out what the actual conflict is. What are these specific rules that are tripping everybody up? The regulations in the city of Wilmington can get pretty specific, so let's start there. It usually comes down to one of three things. The first one is height. That's a big one. You generally can't build a fence over 4 feet tall in a front yard. The second is visibility, especially on corner lots. To keep intersections safe for drivers, there's this thing called a clear sight triangle, where you can't have anything over 30 inches high. And third, believe it or not, even your choice of materials, like using chain link in the front yard, can trigger the need for special permission. So what in the world is a variance anyway? The best way to think about it is like a special key. It's a key that unlocks an exception to the rules. But here's the catch. It only works if your property has a very specific, unique kind of problem. So officially, a variance isn't changing the law for everyone. Nope. It's a special pass just for you, for your property. But you only get this pass if following the normal rules would cause a genuine hardship. And this is crucial. That hardship has to come from the unique physical condition of your land. And this right here, this is probably the most important thing to understand. A variance is all about physical hardship, not economic hardship. You cannot get a variance just because building by the book is more expensive or inconvenient. The problem has to be baked into the land itself. Maybe its weird shape or its crazy slope, something physical and unique. Now, before you do anything else, you have to know whose rules you're playing by. If you're inside the city of Wilmington, you can expect a very detailed rulebook and a required permit for any fence. But if you're in unincorporated New Hanover County, the rules are usually much more laid back. This is so important because it means you're much more likely to need a variance if you live inside the city limits. All right, so you've done your homework, and yep, you definitely need a variance. Now what? Let's walk through what the application journey actually looks like. It might seem like a lot, but it's a pretty clear path once you see the 4 main stages. The whole process basically boils down to 4 steps. First, you have a pre-application meeting. This is required in Wilmington, and it's your chance to get some great advice from the staff. Second, you submit your case. That's all your paperwork, your site plan, everything. Third is the public hearing, where you formally plead your case to the board. And finally, number 4, you get the decision. Okay, let's talk money for a second. Applying isn't free. In Wilmington, you're looking at a $500 fee, plus the cost of mailings. In New Hanover County, it's $400. But, and this is a big but, that's just the fee to get in the door. That price doesn't include what you might need to spend on, say, a land surveyor to help build your case, which can add up fast. Now, we've arrived at the absolute heart of your case. Your success or failure, it all hinges on one thing, your ability to prove hardship. And to do that, you have to pass a very specific 4-part legal test. These are not suggestions, okay? They are legal requirements. You have to prove all 4 of these things to the board. Let's break them down. First, you have to prove that following the rules as they're written creates a real and substantial and unnecessary hardship because of your property's physical features. Second, this hardship has to be peculiar to your property. If all your neighbors are dealing with the same thing, it's a neighborhood problem, not a unique hardship that qualifies just your lot for a special pass. Third, the hardship can't be something you created yourself.
You can't, for example, build a shed in the wrong spot and then ask for a variance to fix the problem you made. And fourth, your plan has to respect the spirit of the law. That means your fence can't hurt public safety, damage your neighbor's property values, or just completely wreck the character of the neighborhood. So now that you know what you have to do, let's switch gears and talk about what not to do. A lot of these applications fail, not because the case is bad, but because of simple, totally preventable mistakes. You've got to avoid these common traps. The absolute biggest mistake? Arguing about money or convenience. The board is legally not allowed to even consider it. Also, make sure your paperwork is flawless. But honestly, here's the best piece of advice. Go talk to your neighbors first. A friendly chat can stop opposition before it starts, and it shows the board you're trying to be considerate. So, after all this, it really comes down to one big question. The whole variance process is about telling a story, but it can't be a story about your preference or what you want. It has to be a story of genuine physical necessity. Does the unique story of your land, its shape, its history, its physical problems, justify getting an exception to the rule? That's what you have to prove.